Okay, let's move on next to our segment called Your Opinion. I'm going to invite Mark Northrup up to the stage. And Mark, when you get up here, you can sit right here, get comfy on this chair. But I'm going to read for you what this little segment is about. It's called Your Opinion. And I'd hope there are plenty of you out there today in the crowd and then also listening online where you would participate in this conversation as well. So what it is we don't tell people we disagree with to be quiet or to stop talking. Instead, we encourage people to wake up, to stand up, and to speak up for the common good in West Michigan. So let your little light shine, be the salt of the earth, and amplify your voice on this podcast. Welcome to Your Opinion. And we welcome Mayor Mark Northrup of Hudsonville.
Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us.
So, Mark, I'm just going to let you fire away here. We already talked about this in the beginning. So, just to be clear, Mark wrote a couple editorial pieces that were put in the Holland Sentinel. And he did this of his own volition. And I'm a reader of the Holland Sentinel. And I think, he had a lot of ideas that were tracking with mine. I said, hey, Mark, just come on up. I'd love for you to read your pieces here. They're real short. And then we're just going to ask a few follow-up questions. So, Mark, are you ready? You're scrambling through your papers.
I'm ready to go. The Sentinel had an online subscription base of 700 people before Ottawa Impact.
Only 700?
And now it's 4,000.
4,000 people.
And you wonder why. Now, the editor of the Sentinel, Sarah, has been nominated for a Pulitzer Prize on her reporting of Ottawa Impact and what's the discourse that's happened in our county. I hope she gets the Pulitzer. Wouldn't that be a feather in the cap of those of us in Holland that we have a small paper, still viable, people still read it, people still care about what's happening in their local community.
That's right. I hope so as well.
So as you mentioned, I've written a couple letters here to the editor. One is dated back in January, I think. And it's kind of just a short one. As you mentioned, I am the mayor of Hudsonville, been the mayor nearly 10 years, and have had a lifetime of service to my country. The letter reads, I'm asking that Joe Moss, who is the chair of the commission, not to run for a second term as my county commissioner, which would be District 5. The list of reasons is too long, which most of us are familiar with, not the least of which is the millions of tax dollars squandered on personal agendas and unnecessary lawsuits. And by the way, a lot of severances. Give it a rest, Joe. Move on. You have made your point, and the county now needs to move on. Do what is best for your community. It's a plea. How many roads could we have fixed in our county, I wonder, if you had not wasted so many taxpayer dollars? We need to return to good governance, professional leadership, fiscal responsibility, open meetings, honest and productive agendas, kindness, and empathy. Let someone else be the GOP candidate. And that person now just happens to be me, because I'm in District 5. I am the most able to take on Joe Moss and move on with goodness. Because we don't have goodness. We lost goodness in our county. So that's the first letter. The second letter I wrote right after our health director, which we're probably all familiar with, long drawn-out affair. When they came on board, they were looking for a witch hunt to punish anybody that advocated for masks. And it was just driven out of mean, vicious, get-even vendettas. And we watched this thing play out over at least a year. And at one point, there was talk. They cut the health department in half. And they said, we're going to give you $4 million, health director. Just go away. Just go away. Well, obviously, people said, $4 million? You can't do that. That's a lot of money. We can't buy her off for $4 million. So they went to a 12-hour session, closed session, and came to a decision. So my letter was written shortly after they made their decision. It says, watching a train wreck in the county commission, thanks for nothing, once again, to Joe Moss and the county commission. You had a 12-hour closed session meeting and arrived at the exact same place from a year ago. Adeline Hamlin is still our health director, and no, she didn't get the $4 million payout. However, she does have nearly a $200,000 lawsuit to pay her attorney's fees. Incidentally, as the mayor of Hudsonville for 9 years, I have never had a meeting go beyond 1.5 hours. Why? Because we respect people's time on my city commission. We need a county commission to focus on doing good and not wasting time and squandering money on lawsuits and severances. The next county commissioners need to focus on value-added work, such as how to build our economy, which they haven't done. They're too busy squabbling. We need better roads, such as a new interchange at 196 and the 48th. We need to build more housing stock using the various tax incentives in the state toolbox. There's lots. We need more affordable daycare for our working families so they can both work, or the mom can work. A family must now wait over a year to put their child in daycare. We need to build our economy. We have a wonderful place to live. We need to keep it that way. A county with good salaries, available housing, efficient transportation systems, and quality daycare. Now, on my city commission, we have worked diligently on all of those, with noted success. We have precise, agenda-driven city commission meetings that last, surprise, an hour. Surely, the county could do the same. It isn't rocket science, for crying out loud. It's just called professional leadership. We need to right this ship. Oh, and by the way, can somebody explain to me why housing values have recently dropped in our county? Just asking. Could it be cause and effect? So if you notice a little passion there, this is personal. These are my friends. These are my neighbors. This is my county. This is where I live. It's been diminished by the rancor and the polarization and the politicization, everything at the county. They trust nobody but their narrow focused agenda. They're wasting time and money. Now, money is important, but more importantly, the value of time that's been dedicated not to the people, but to their personal vindictive agendas. Mm-hmm. We're not winning.
Yeah. So I want to take you back there. So I want to take you back to the first piece that you had, because you talk a bit about that, and I want you to elucidate that for us. So it's you state that, quote, we need to return to good governance, professional leadership, fiscal responsibility, open meetings, honest and productive agendas, kindness, and empathy. So here's the question. As a Republican elected official and now a candidate in District 5, what makes you believe that Republican voters want to see another GOP candidate for county commissioner, to see those values?
Okay, so let's talk about cities. Cities, we are not party declared to be elected officials. We don't talk politics at the city. It's not allowed. We just don't do it. We don't tolerate it. We focus on what we're supposed to be focused on. Budgets, roads, schools, funding, health departments. Those are all things where you're mandated to take care of. This outlying rancor about prayer and whatever the polarized issue is in the national press doesn't apply at the local level. Why are we going there? Now, I admit I'm a Republican. I even validated Joe Moss early on because I thought he was a better candidate at the moment. I was hoodwinked, I admit it, as many of my friends and colleagues were. I am a Republican. It more closely aligns to my personal values. I will not deny that. I am not a rhino. I am not a MAGA. I'm a conservative Republican that believes in the Constitution first and foremost. But being a Republican aligns more with my personal values. Now, having said that, we all have some values we may disagree with. I disagree with several of the Democratic values. That doesn't mean I don't like them. Doesn't mean they're my enemy. It means we're political rivals. We view the world differently. I love them as much as anybody else. I have family that's gay. I have family that struggles with other identity issues. We have to embrace them all, love them all. They have free will. I love them just the same. They're not bad people. We disagree. That's the short of it. But my values more closely identify with being a Republican. And by the way, one of the reasons we live here, which has 75% Republican population, I mean, that's who we are in West Michigan. We are faith-based Republicans for the most part.
Yeah, let me drill down into that a little bit, and then Sean, I'd love for you to go next. So you speak about being hoodwinked. You know, initially you had, thought that Joe Moss was a great candidate, but then things were not going the way that you expected it. So there were some grumblings. Not only you had some grumblings about that, but then amongst your friends. So like that friend base, or probably perhaps within your own family, like, so what are some of the conversations that people are having? Like, hey, Mark, you need to run, or what makes you think that like you have a base of people, of Republicans or whoever, really, just voters in general, that are like, I want nothing more to do with Ottawa Impact because A, B, and C. But what makes you kind of think that you have people in your corner?
So Nick, we all have reached a point in our lives where we realize we have certain skills and we're able. It'd be a heck of a lot easier just to stay the mayor in a great city, collect Social Security, retire, play golf. It would be. I admit
real
that.
nice.
Certainly. Wouldn't that be nice?
Haven't played. How many times did you play golf this year?
Once.
Yeah.
Once.
It was a simulator
join
at somebody's house, but it counts.
But you still have a passion. There's a passion for goodness here. Both of you men. You want to add value to your economy and to your community. If I'm able, it'd be so much easier just to be in the sidelines and say, let somebody else. But the Joe Mosses of the world need to be stood up to. Who better to stand up that has a resume of goodness, a history of service, of results, of passion and compassion? Certainly not Joe Moss. Look at my record. I am the most able. The mayor of Hudsonville is taking on Joe Moss for the right reasons. We need to move our county on to goodness. This pettiness, this polarization, this wasteful spending, this wasted time needs to stop. We need to start to focus on advancing our county once again.
Sean, it's almost as if Mark has teed up your own question. Is that the one there? I mean, he's kind of setting you up. Go ahead and fire your question away.
Well, I had a couple questions on if you're running for commissioner. What's your pros and cons of being a commissioner compared to being a mayor?
We get to be a big deal if people call you Mr. Mayor. Hello. Yeah. That's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it, Sean? Huh?
I don't know. You're going for commissioner and not mayor anymore.
Wouldn't it rather be a commissioner? You think that's maybe a step down? Actually, in some ways it is.
Is it?
Well, certainly, in some ways. However, there's more of a need at the county. My city's well run. Great staff, great commissioners. Get along. We focus on doing the goodness. If I have that skill to take to the county commission, I'm obligated to be there, Sean. I can't sit in the sidelines and watch this train wreck. I have to be part of the fix. I got to be in that locomotive.
Get that? Now, you're talking about earlier on your statements, you're talking daycare and everything. What would you be looking at doing to help make more affordable daycare?
Okay, so one of the things in Hudsonville we've been working
father
with...
of twins, I get that.
It's a real pertinent issue.
Hear me out. One of my commissioners, Dave Nitrate, is on the on the Outdoor Discovery Center board. He's the director. And one day I had a conversation and said, why couldn't ODC do something like that in Hudsonville? Next day he calls me and says, we have $1.5 million in ARPA funding to launch a satellite, and we're looking at Hudsonville. So we hope we have the initial plans to open a daycare center in our nature center. Now, nature centers is the ideal place for the Outdoor Discovery Center to have their daycares, because we want our children raised away from all the electronics. We want them outside. We want them breathing fresh air. We want them hiking, and we have the ideal place in Hudsonville in our nature center. So the ODC is going to be partnering with the city, we expect, within the next 6 months, and we will be building our own daycare center. Obviously, we'll be working with local industries to help them fund the building itself and some of the maintenance of it. Royal Technologies, Sound Off Signal, West Michigan Beef. All of these employers need to retain their employees, and they need to attract new ones. And one of the biggest limiting factors for our employees is daycare for families. We need to embrace families. We need to make it available to them. Now, I have some people say, well, mothers should always raise kids, and we have no obligation to help raise children. Well, you know what? That's maybe in an ideal world, but most new families are two income, or maybe they're one income, and a mom is trying to just work through and make a decent wage in a manufacturing factory. She has to have some daycare. You take her out of the workforce, then they go on welfare, they become more of a burden. We need these people in the workforce. We need to support them in the workforce. We need to have daycare systems available. But we talk about this all the time, but nobody does any action about it. Hudsonville's going to do action. We need to own this, Sean. We need to support you and your twins. So your wife can maybe have a part-time job, and you can maybe pay the mortgage off early. Wouldn't that be nice, Sean?
Well, that'd be very nice. She's more the breadwinner in the house, though. So
sounds like Mark is willing to help you out. But you know what? Full disclosure for both Sean and I, we don't live in Ottawa County. As we discussed earlier, I live right on the border, and that border is just over the highway. So I live in Granville. So when you mentioned, like Nick, you live across the border. You said it in jest, but I have been told that I live over the border in a very kind of partisan way. I'm coming across. I'm interfering with politics and mingling.
Come on, we got to be bigger than that. Come on, we have to be bigger than that.
I was like, I live in Michigan, don't I? I come through Holland. I come through Hudsonville, all that other stuff. So, but Sean, you live in Kentwood.
Yeah, and that's definitely on the other side of the border.
You're way across the border. You're like a deep south or like a deep west.
Yep.
East.
Yeah.
Yes, he says.
So, Mark, I'm not as good as words as you are.
Mark, we got about 2 more minutes yet. So you are running, just to be clear, District 5 in the primary.
Yeah, that's
August 6th.
And as you said, that's where the race is, where we live. We need people to get out and vote August 7th in the primary. We need people to be engaged. By the way, there are several Republicans that are saying that I'm asking for Democrats to cross over. That is the furthest from the truth. In fact, Larry, you're here right now. We had that discussion. I do not want Democrats to cross over to vote in the Republican primary. You vote your own primary. My team votes my primary. Period. And for some people just immediately assume, since I had lunch with him, I'm asking his people to cross over. Furthest from the truth. They have their rights to their own facts, but not their own lies.
Well, hey, so you bring up something interesting, and I don't want to go too long into this because we gotta keep the segment shorter. But you being here today is it might possibly seen as a bad thing in the county, right? Because you are talking to the perception in the county is that we are Vote Common Good West Michigan is more of a progressive leaning place. So what are your thoughts on that? A little bit more about talking.
I am just as able to speak to any conservative group, any church group, any liberal group, because my values will speak the truth as best they can. And you know what? If people are that narrow-minded, I don't think I want their vote. I'll be honest with you. Those are not the people that need to vote for me.
There it is.
I would ask them, do they have family that are Democrats? Do they have friends that are Democrats? Democrats and liberals, progressives, whatever you want to call them, or maybe we can call them Christian nationalists for all we care. We all have them in our family, and they're our friends, and we love them, but that doesn't mean we shut them off. How narrow-minded can you be? You need to be able to speak articulately and go there. That's the other thing about Joe Moss. Where is he? Is he here? No, he isn't here. You know why? Because he can't speak to anything successful or an accomplishment other than being mean-spirited.
If he wanted to talk to us, we'd talk to him for sure.
Well, bring him on. I'd be more than glad.
Yeah. Well, Joe Moss, you are invited to an event upcoming. I'll send you an
absolutely.
email. I'm sure you're listening to this podcast.
We'll host a little, yeah.
But
host a little debate. That'd be kind
in
of
all
fun.
seriousness, anybody from Ottawa Impact, I'd love to hear their take on things and hear it from them.
Well, I've said it to you many times because I would not necessarily say I am vote common good like you are, because the whole point of me kind of being on everything is I kind of hopefully represent a little bit of that jaded center of the voters that doesn't quite know what is true or false to listen to one way or the other. And that's kind of where I try to stand at, is I wouldn't say I'm Republican or Democrat. I just kind of go with what sounds good to me at the time, I guess, which might not sound good. But if he wants to come out, I find that fun, because then we get a little bit more of both sides, just like having you on tonight. It doesn't do us as a podcast very good, I don't think, if we're always going one side of the narrative. So getting both sides of the aisle, I think, is a thing that everybody needs to get the most of, but the honest sides of the aisles.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think what, Mark, you're talking about and what we strive to do is, like, we want to talk to people.
Yeah.
That's our demographic. We want to talk to people of faith and goodwill who want to seek to do better in their communities. So that's what we're working to do. And so, Mark, we thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us. And have a safe trip down the stairs.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a spotlight where you can get them on. Yeah, let's give Mark a round of applause. Thanks for being here.